And I was like, oh, wow. Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Burn Line by Jonathan Sims. This is a book from Poison Pen. It's a horror book. It's coming out August 25th, 2026. I received this art from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. And I managed to read it for Camp NetGalley, which gets me some sort of accolade on the site. I don't know. The real prize is the books we read along the way, right? Beginning as a typical horror with an interesting premise, The Burn Line soon turns into an absolutely riotous attack on elitism that borders on satire. What is it about? There's something lurking in the stifling darkness and labyrinthine tunnels that run below London. Something odd, something vicious, and something very, very hungry. It's the hottest summer on record, and London is dying. Prices are high, pay is low, and stressed commuters are packed onto the London Underground trains again like the pandemic never happened. To add to the misery, the temperatures underground just keep climbing and climbing, the heat trapped in the city with nowhere to go. Then one fateful morning, 5 travelers on an unlucky tube carriage find themselves bound together as witnesses to a single horrific event, an event they can't quite seem to remember. They make an unlikely team: a weary tube driver, a disillusioned civil servant, an ambitious city trader, an overwhelmed hotel worker, and an unhoused young man just trying to get by. But now they must come together to confront what they have seen and stop it in its tracks before it kills them all. This book starts off in a pretty typical manner to horror. We have an interesting mystery on a subway in London with 5 points of view. Yay, third-person multi-POV, my favorite. The story takes a bit to build, giving us a few chapters on the backstories of the 5 main characters while the mystery starts to invade their lives. While at first I didn't really love any of them, they really do grow on you until it becomes one of those horrors where you hope that everyone makes it out okay. Do they? I'll tell you in the spoilers at the end. I need to talk about a little book crush, okay? And so I can't do that without talking about like all the characters and certain people's fates and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about that if you would like to just spy on me. What's great about the characters is that while they all have personalities and quirks to tell them apart, they aren't that deep. They are one movie level deep versus TV series level, if you know what I mean. Unless it's a psychological horror, which this is not, I find this is the best balance for horror. Too deep and they become too real, so the horror becomes kind of depressing. But if they aren't fleshed out enough, you don't care about them. I did care. More so about some than others. I love the diversity in the group, though. I thought that was really great. The monsters were really cool. I'm not going to explain them at all or how they kill, as that is the fun part of the story, but they are an interesting blend of horror lore with a touch of feral ghouls from Fallout. Of course, the real horror is, as always, society. And in this book, the horror is the wealthy elite, particularly the aristocracy. Now, I'm from Canada, if you couldn't tell by my accent, eh? So while we don't have the same sort of heraldry type elitism that England does, we are, depending how into politics and or history you are, knowledgeable about that stuff because we are still part of the Commonwealth. The king is technically our head of state, and our bills require royal assent. You're learning something about Canada today. Of course, this is nothing like having literal descendants of lords and ladies still hovering above the masses in their gilded towers, but while I don't live that, I understood the absolutely blistering and downright delicious guillotine that was dropped in this book. I was cackling at parts in this book. I don't want to tell you any of it for spoilers, but if you are an eat the rich sort of person like I am, you will definitely find this book fulfilling on many, many levels. I loved it. I thought it was a riot. Some might find the story a little slow, but I thought the pace was actually spot on. There are a few twists and turns that aren't really new to the genre, but they were surprising when they came about, and there were some really fun action scenes. The story, I kind of wondered where it was going at one point, but then it sort of solidifies, and then it got like really, really good, and I couldn't put down the last like third of it. I really, really enjoyed this book, if you couldn't tell, and I burned right through it. The fire puns today. Onward to my spoilers. Thank you so much to NetGalley and Poison Pen for the e-arc. I really, really appreciated it. Also, that cover is super cool. So, my book crush slash spoiler. I adored Will. At first, you don't like him, of course, because he's this, like, I don't know, corporate traitor, whatever those people do. But his absolute angst and depression over his job, something he thought was meant, he was meant to do that would fulfill him, but ended up being soul sucking, was a super relatable arc. And his badass last stand and sacrifice for his friends was the best scene in the book. And when I realized he was going to die, that's when I realized that I had a book crush on him. And I was like, no, you had a redemption arc. You were going to find a job that makes you happy. And now you have friends. You are going to be happy. You have a purpose now. True tragedy. Also, he reminds me a little bit of the male main character in My Literary Romance that I'm currently wrapping up self-edits on. So that might also be why I liked him. Different personality, but similar kind of story arc. And I was just like, oh, he's like Jason. Anyway, super fun. If you've read this book, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it, because I clearly really liked it. And so actually, one more thing. That one part was like a reference to like the Queen, right? Was that what this book was throwing down but wouldn't like overtly say? Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I got from it. And I was like, oh wow.